butt.
And he's here. What is he doing? What is Roger doing?
Raj, what are you doing?
He's rooting around.
He's hanging
playing.
out.
He's playing with his Porky Pig doll, and he's very happy on the
Pig doll.
chair, and he's just.
We
happy.
are live.
We are.
It's thinking that we're live. It's sending it live. It's
We're
going live. We're doing it live.
We'll do it live.
Hey, it's Tuesday. We missed last Tuesday because I took the day off. I was hanging out with my mom though.
That's cool.
That's a good reason.
That's what I was doing last week. So
Shout
I
out
think
to
it's
moms.
it's
I
a
was
good.
I was in the North Woods.
You
The Northwest Woods.
you were in the North Woods.
The very North Woods.
What were you doing last week, Venezia?
I was in the East Woods.
East Woods.
The
Dylan
Clint
Van Vliet.
Eastwoods. He was in the Clint Eastwoods.
Yes,
Went
I was
to
in-
Eastwoods.
I was in the Clint Eastwoods, exactly. Yes.
And here we go. Why don't we just start the show? Okay, fine.
What time is it? No.
What time is it?
I feel like we need we don't have when we don't have Andy, maybe we need like a mic metal version of this.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't do it right this second. That would take some doing, but I will prepare.
or in order for you to be on the show like Dylan, you have to do the intro like Andy.
You can't ask me to sound like Andy. That guy.
Yeah.
Do it. Come on.
No, Andy Lund. You know, not Andy Powers, Andy Lund. You know what I'm saying? Maybe
Even
you
so.
knew what I was saying.
I thought you
Anyway,
were- yeah, go for it.
Mike Tex saw you at Empire.
What happened? Oh, Tech saw me at Empire.
That's cool.
Empire Music.
I was at Empire Music.
When
That
were
was
you at
part of-
Empire
part of the-
Music?
That was part of the East Woods. When I was there, not last Friday, but the Friday prior.
That's amazing. Gabe, what were you doing out here? I knew what you were doing out here. I mean, you ended up on the show that one time. That was fun.
I was all over the place. I was in San Diego doing some work for another client with an old friend of the show, Mr. Chris Sharpie, and then we tacked on a little excursion outside of Seattle to Pacific Rim Tonewoods, which was super fun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I can't wait to show everybody that. That's
I
going to be a
posted,
fun time.
yeah, I posted a couple of photos in the Taylor Guitars owners group just to kind of make everybody, go
Jealous?
nuts with jealous. Yeah.
Okay.
Some
Tell them
stacks
what
of
you were
Koa.
really doing. You were trying to make all these nerds here jealous.
Yeah, that was the whole thing.
Okay, good job.
Mission
Dylan
accomplished.
Van Vliet, welcome to Taylor Primetime. Dylan Van Vliet is our retail marketing manager. We'll talk about what he does in a little bit. We're going to kick off the show. Welcome to the show, Dylan. Thanks for jumping
thanks so
on.
much for having me, man. It's so cool to be here. I mean, I've never done a prime time, so hopefully this is the first of many or something. I don't know. It'd be cool to join. This is fun.
Do you
So
think
thanks
we should? Do you think we should give a jacket to people who have been on the show more than 5 times?
Like the Masters style, where you get like the green jacket,
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
somebody shows up at their house and knocks
like
and like
puts it on them.
puts it on them.
I think you should do that for people who have been on the show one time. Make them a jacket and clothe them with a nice Letterman's jacket or a green suit jacket like the Masters.
So
Or
being that you're part of the marketing department, you understand the term low budget.
I just think that's a creative blocker that I don't like to accept.
To save on budget, there's probably some of those unsold early 2000s Taylor jean jackets in a warehouse somewhere. You could just get one of those, the big cursive Taylor on the back.
I got a jean jacket.
Do that.
Find one.
I got a jean jacket somewhere in here that we had to buy for some wardrobe at one point, but
Nice.
we'll find it. We'll give you that. We'll just get a press on, iron on primetime logo.
Do
and
that.
We'll give it to you.
This is great. I'm gonna tell everybody to come on the show once so they can get this awesome jacket.
I
John,
love
John-
this. I love this comment.
John,
Spot on.
John, you are spot on. We appreciate that one, John. You should. I should get a free guitar. Oh, well.
Should it be one guitar per 5 shows? Is that what
Right?
it is?
Yeah, one from like each series, 100 to 500.
Yeah, there you go.
After the 5th episode, you get a 500.
I honestly think that half the people that are watching that are here today could open their own Taylor store if
Yeah.
that were the case, because they are dedicated and loyal. And thank you, everyone, for that.
They are dedicated and loyal, and we love every single one of you for jumping on the show and watching it with us. I got to hang out with my mom last week, and my daughter, who lives in Texas. She came to hang out with us. It was a blast. So I appreciate you letting us not have a show last week, because that was a blast. Tonight's episode is going to be great. We love New Guitar Week. This is not a showdown, but we are going to play through every single one of the new 400s, which I'm pretty excited about. We got a couple of clips of each guitar, so I'm excited about that. Dylan, we do a couple of segments up front and then get yelled at later on for talking too much, so we got to keep this up.
It's 87 seconds into the show, and you haven't talked about any guitars yet.
That's me when I watch YouTube videos anyway. I'm always like, skip past the talking, give me the pedals, give me the amps, guitars.
I know, but guess what? We're just going to talk a little bit too much and just keep people on their edge. And then we're going to show them some guitars for 32 and a half seconds, and then we'll be done. It'll be great. So you guys know how this goes. Let's keep the feed clean. Let's keep the nerd and guitar nerd. Anything hateful or derogatory, and we're going to kick you out. Put you in timeout. You don't want that. We did, Dylan, we do have a segment of the show called Hug Your Haters. That is if we get some hate in the comments, or if somebody sends our customer service email hate about the show, we like to embrace them with love and give them a hug back. But quite frankly, for the last, so the ES2 episode, we definitely got some hate.
Yeah.
But we're always,
Yeah.
it is what it is. We'll take care of that.
What would happen if Nickelback tried to do something like that? You think they would have enough hugs to give out?
I think Nickelback is underrated, and you know how we feel
agree.
about Nickelback. That is a very extremely talented band. They just got on the wrong side of the
Pop culture.
and it just ruined them.
Man, I'm glad we could all agree on that. I thought for sure I'd be throwing that out there. and
Oh, what's
everybody would
this
be like,
we all thing?
No, I think okay.
I didn't give an opinion as of yet.
Okay, time out, Mike. If we had Chad on the show, you would like him.
I'm not saying I wouldn't like him as a person. I'm sure he's a wonderful guy. I'm sure they're all wonderful people. I just think collaboratively as a band, they don't play music that resonates with me. I'm
I'm going to
they're
send you
bad.
some YouTube clips, and it's going to change your mind.
If we had anyone
Rockstar
named
the
Chad
remix?
on the show,
Anyone named Chad on the show?
And
he would like-
you would have
anyone
to
named
like
Chad.
Yeah, you have to like Chad's.
I will say that their records are mixed really, really well.
Yeah, they are. Give
pretty
the
hard to
nickel
argue.
back, he says. Oh,
Well, that's actually how they got the name.
I know. Okay, check this out. So we didn't have any hate, Dylan. You don't get to deal with that. It is fun, but we just gave our own weird hug your haters scenario. We hugged Nickelback for all the hate that they received. The next segment we have is a little fun one. We do need to change this clip, but I think I'm going to play the useless clip because it's hilarious.
I need to make a new one.
Dylan, I hope
Don't
you're
I?
ready for this one.
I don't
It's
think
a
I
little
am.
segment called What Are You Listening To? That's it. Dylan, what are you
Great clip.
listening to? What have you been listening to lately?
Man,
Musically.
I've been obsessed with Turnstile. Do you guys know them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been just obsessed with their latest album. It's just great. It's got like a really awesome energy to it, very upbeat, kind of aggressive, kind of punk rock. And it's just solid tunes. If you guys haven't checked them out, I highly recommend it if you're into punk music. It's good stuff.
I think I brought up Turnstile a few times on this, but they're also, if you're not into punk rock music, but you do like Taco Bell, they have a sync on a Taco Bell commercial right now. So
No way.
you can accidentally listen to Turnstile and eat a
So if you're-
Crunchwrap Supreme.
If you're bopping along to a
Mhm.
Taco Bell commercial.
2 words for that: mailbox money.
Mailbox
for
money,
those
man.
guys.
It was a good sync. That's right.
yeah.
I'll throw one more out there too. I've been really into Turnover, but that never changes. I've always
Turnover?
been a huge Turnover fan. Yeah, and their latest album is fantastic. They have like saxophones on there. It's groovy.
I love it. All right, Gabe.
Well, before I jumped in,
Did
he
you bring
wants to
props?
know-
Yes.
Yes,
We are
talking about.
We are supposed to.
We are.
We will get to
Supposed to.
guitars.
We will
but
talk about guitars. It's a guitar nerd talk show.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
it's a podcast, so we talk a little bit up front, and then we get into guitars. We'll get you. Stay
We'll
along
get-
with it.
we'll
It's-
get there, I
it's
promise.
almost there. We're real close.
We're close.
Okay, Gabe, what have you been listening to?
So I had a couple of travel weeks there. I was gone for like 10 days. So car travel, I listen to podcasts. Air travel, I listen to records. But since I'm home, I pulled out vinyl. I mentioned this last time, but I've been listening to this a ton lately. I've always said if I'm ever in a band again, I want it to sound like this. This record is
Yeah.
amazing.
I think it's hard.
It's
Tom?
it's this record is all live. They were supposed to contribute one song to a soundtrack, and they wrote a whole soundtrack, and it's just great. Whole thing's super cool. Also been listening to, I'm on a 90s kick, I guess. Elliott Smith's XO.
Love that record.
Great
Love that record.
Just absolutely outstanding. And then this is a little off the path, but Wallflowers.
Not
OG
really.
Bring Down the
That's a
Horse.
great
This
record.
is a great record. So I've been on this kick of kind of indie, like 90s, early 2000s, like indie rock sound, like alternative sound stuff lately. I don't know why, but that's just where my head's been at, I guess.
Thank you, Gabe. Mike.
Oh, you all know I'm all over the place.
Rush.
So, not this week. Well, I mean, yes, always, but that's perpetual. Couple of things. So I've also been on a 90s kick, and when I was on the road last week, for some reason, something in my head said, put on this band. I listened to like so much Collective Soul over the past week.
Oh yeah.
And
Great band.
it was almost like rediscovering them because, you know, when I was really, you know, at the time that they got big, there was a whole bunch of, you know, grunge bands, and they kind of got lumped in with them, but they weren't. You know, they're far more melodic in a lot of ways, and really good songwriting, and you know, so I was in a different world at that point. I was listening to other things, but now to kind of come back to it, listen to Collective Soul, I was like, wow, okay, cool. This is, and it's accessible, and for a guitar player, you know, a lot of us like to play the songs that we like, and they're not difficult to play, which makes them even better.
And their
Because
guitar tones, man, are so
Their
good.
tones
The
are
guitar tones are
amazing.
great. Well, Ed Roland was like an assistant engineer in a studio
Yeah.
for like 8 years. So that's
Yeah.
how that first album got made. So he's got a good pair of ears on him too. And they're well mixed. They're well engineered. They're well recorded. They sound great. And say what you want, you know, over the years, their songwriting, you know, got a little bit different, but at the same time, you still know that there's substance to it. So I've been listening to a lot of Collective Soul recently.
It's a good
Anything
pick.
else?
Yeah.
Rush.
Yeah, Rush. There's Rush. Always Rush.
Rush.
But
You can just listen to Rush and still be all over the place too.
I know,
Well,
that's the best part
that
about
is
Rush.
true. Yeah, that is the best part about Rush. But a lot of ELO.
Oh,
Yes.
Love
They're
ELO.
constant in my.
Going down the
Oh.
Jeff Lynne rabbit hole.
They're a constant in mine. I've been listening to a lot of. From time to time, I go into that ELO thing where it's like ELO, Toto, a lot of Toto.
throw on some Traveling Wilburys, all the Jeff Lynne production.
Yeah, Mr. Lukather cannot do anything wrong in my eyes. And so that is not what I've been listening to. I saw this interesting comment, actually. Eric Campbell. I saw Flogging Molly last month in Montclair, New Jersey. This is a Valeris shirt, which is Nathan, the bass player of Flogging Molly, and his wife Shelby's band. I've been listening to their new record because they sent it to me, and it's fantastic a lot. And of course, you guys know how I feel about my one of my favorites and also Taylor Players, Manchester Orchestra, put out a record. It's a very interesting piece of work. It's like a little bit longer than an EP. They still call it a record because it's just long enough, but it only has 6 songs. It's called The Valley of Vision. Oh my goodness, that band just gets better every time they put something out. So Manchester,
I didn't know they had a new P out. I'm gonna have to check that out. Their
Dude.
last album I was like obsessed with for a long time.
Dude, Dylan, it is, you cannot miss it. I mean, you cannot, like, you gotta that right after this, go put it on. It is,
I will.
It is the best 26-minute listen. I believe it's exactly 26 minutes.
Oh, that's nice.
But it's like just perfect. So I'm excited about that.
That's a nice like length too, you know,
Yeah.
easy to digest maybe, and like even play again in a sitting. Like,
Yeah, I had it on loop, and I felt cleaning the house and just looped. And yeah, I love it.
It's the average length of a Rush song in the mid 70s.
It is. That's true. That's true. That's true. It's a Rush song. All right. So I think we should dive into the discussion, but it would be a record time. It's 16 minutes and 18 seconds or something like that.
Let's just no. We can't. Let's just walk away for 3 minutes, come back, and we'll talk about talking about it. And then once we hit over 20 minutes, then we can go.
Like 22-ish. I think it's perfect.
The EP again is Man.
Dylan, what were you listening to?
Orchestra.
Yeah. I did see a question that was, that was already answered in the chat. What was Gabe's second pick? But yeah, it was Elliott Smith's XO. Awesome album.
Such a good record.
There I go. Okay, so we're elongating this. Okay, so guys, this is a bit of an inside joke. The inside joke is when people complain about the length of us talking up front, it is very precise. I got an email that said 34 minutes and 57 seconds of talking, and you guys didn't talk about the ES2 yet. And we think that it's fantastic that people are so precise. I love this. Anyway, so 17 minutes and 23 seconds, and we should talk about Dylan. Dylan, welcome again to the show. I asked this question to any new guest, anybody who hasn't been on here. What in the heck do you do at Taylor?
I am a retail marketing manager. So I work closely with dealers on marketing. We do cooperative marketing. If you ever been to a store and seen a really gorgeous Taylor wall or Taylor room, that's something that I probably had a hand in. That's probably a good general. I don't want to get too in the weeds of there's events and there's TGU training and all that stuff, but yeah, just kind of an all-encompassing anything with dealers and anything retail.
How did you end up in this position though? Did you came from one of our partners, right?
Yes, it all started when I was 20 years old. I got a job at Guitar Center in Covina, California. So I worked there for 3 years, and then I went up to Corporate Guitar Center, and I worked on the website for a number of years. And I was with Guitar Center for 9 years. And so I got to know a lot of folks at Taylor, including Craig and Dave, who let me know about this opening, and they snatched me over from Sony, which I was working at the time. So yeah, I'm stoked to be here. I love Taylor guitars, and it's great to see what everyone's talked about in person, because everyone says Taylor's such a great place to work, and it is. People are awesome, and it's awesome.
All right, the nerds want to know, what guitars do you have hanging by you?
So I just moved some out to hang some Taylors, but I have an SG Standard. This is a 2008. This is a 2001 Mexican jazz bass. Can you see it if I do that? Probably not a little bit. I just picked this up last year. This is a Fender Mexican Tele, but it's got the Evertune. People are screaming that, I'm sure. But and I just threw my American Professional Strat in the other room, and then this is probably my go-to here. This is a USA Pro Tele. You don't often see these with an HS, right? Like humbucker bridge. You usually see Teles with the humbucker neck and the single coil bridge. So this is kind of a unique one. That's kind of like my go-to that I tend to play in bands with. And then got this Taylor here. This is the 414, as I ding it, 414 shaded edge burst, super cool. And then I'm glad you asked, Jay, because I saved the best. This is the new 414, and this thing is super sweet. I got it on loan right now from work, and it is gorgeous. Sounds amazing. This and the 417E are like my new favorite Taylor guitars. So hats off to the production team.
Well, then.
I'll just hold on to this.
Okay, you just hold on to that for a little bit. Well, then, I think we should talk about 400s. It's been 20 minutes and 35 seconds.
We broke 20. Okay, good.
We broke 20. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen in the feed, can you loan it to me for a while? That's a good one. Oh,
yeah.
You had it, Gabe.
I had
we
it.
have the Taylor library card? No.
You go. No, you go.
No, you go.
No, you go. Ah.
Oh, it's so good.
Anyway, that's Anyway, feeding the ducks.
Jay-
No, we're not
Jay
going
and
to
I-
feed the ducks. I
Oh no!
could.
But you know what that'll attract, though. You
I know.
can't do
I
it.
could feed the ducks. Is that
More
what?
ducks?
Yeah. Let me see if I can feed the ducks real quick. But I don't have a big write up or a long write up. Is that feeding the ducks? Okay,
You
ready?
just put it on loop.
Here we go. Ready? Feeding the ducks. Oh yeah. Now introducing the newly redesigned tobacco burst topped spruce rosewood 400 series. Huh? How
I
is
don't
that?
think you-
Feeding
I
the
don't think
ducks?
you whispered enough.
Okay. Let me try this again. All right.
I like the vintage Casio vibes here.
Yeah.
Every time he does this, we get spam in the comments afterward.
We do, but we'll work through this. Introducing the newly redesigned tobacco burst topped spruce rosewood 400 series.
That was good.
Huh?
That was pretty
We
good.
need to do that with like musical chairs. Feed the ducks with musical chairs, and like Jay reads something and then like just stops it, and the three of us have to get back. Whoever's last loses.
Oh, that's a good idea. That is a good idea. Might rack up some overdue fees. All right. Okay. So this one's really exciting, guys. We redesigned a. We need a cigarette break now. I know you need a cigarette break. I know, Paul. That's why I did it. I mean, you're drinking your scotch. Not quite Barry. No.
Yeah, that's
nowhere
what I
near.
was thinking of, David. Like Barry White vibes. That's what we needed.
Mhm.
Yeah, the 400s.
What did Barry on David Letterman? It's a big ass ham. Oh yeah. Anyway, so good. The new 400 series. Yes, we were inspired by some. I want to say we were inspired by some GC guitars, right, Dylan? It seems like we were. We added a tobacco burst to the top of these guitars, and for the first time, we have a 400 series Grand Pacific. Excuse me, 417E, and a little tidbit of information here that's really exciting. Andy wanted me to talk about this. It's the first all gloss Grand Pacific we have in the line. So this thing just sounds like a monster. So I thought what we would do is we will go through 2 clips of each guitar. Gabe, what I did was I took a clip of the playthrough and a clip of the spec video so that we can actually pull some specs and put them on the screen for everybody. So we'll start with the spec video, and then we'll do a playthrough, and we'll talk about what we hear in between and what we like and what we don't like, and I'm sure we're all going to really like them. But another thing I wanted to do was focus on, ready, strumming. All of these clips are people strumming. Majority of people, when they go to a guitar store, they pick up a guitar, they got a pick in their hand, and they just strum. So I want to focus on just strumming, and we'll do another episode later on when we focus on fingerstyle with these. Maybe we won't, but I really wanted to do that. But the funny part is Dylan is one of the players on some of this video content. So I'm going to start with the spec video for the 412 CE. Pretty excited about that. Oh, I almost played Beating the Ducks again.
Written on a Taylor.
Written on a Taylor. All right, so here we go. The spec video, the feature spec video for the 412 CE. I also wanted to bring up that to show off some talents there. Dylan, good playing. Gabe, great job on the video work. Jay, really good job pressing play. Mike, good job. Just
Welcome.
I'll just have sarcasm and needling comments.
All right, so that was a spec video. Now we're going to play a video without any of those graphics on there. Maybe, if I can find it. Here we go. And then we'll talk about what we like in this, about this guitar. You know, what's funny is this comment right here. Fingerstyle, please. I know, but what we're doing here, I don't know if you missed what we just said. We're just focusing on strumming. Nickel
Let the
back.
record show that if we wanted some ridiculous shredding, I could have done it. I could have
done it. I think you do it on the 414 a little. There's a nice little pattern change in there. Anyway, guys, 412 CE. Mike, you've been selling the 400 series for a long time. Since how long have you been here?
Wow, in 2 weeks it'll be 10 years.
Wow, 10 years. Okay, so for 10 years you've seen some of the changes on the 400 series. You saw rosewood added, you've seen oven call, you've seen probably some limiteds with some different woods on there. I know at one time I want to say the 400 series first was launched with mahogany, if I'm correct. Yep. I'm looking at it right now on this thing that I was talking to Jim Curlin about. Yep. So you've seen it all, Mike. How do you feel about this 412 CE?
As far as the 412 goes, I really dig the fact that it sounds bigger than it is. There's something about the low end on this 400 series that's really pronounced overall, and not in a bad way. It's certainly not muddy. It's there, it's articulate, and you could feel it even on the 412 CE. So that was my takeaway from when I played. Obviously I've been lucky enough to play all three of these. But I mean, that was the one thing that struck me about the 412. It's, in general, that's the way that guitar has been structurally. The 412 CE and the 414 CE, pretty much the same thing as what we had last year.
So V-class bracing.
V-class bracing.
Sitka spruce top.
Sitka spruce top with East Indian rosewood sides and back. Mm-hmm. So the structural portions of, the architecture of the guitar itself stay the same. Now, are there little things? A guitar is the sum of its parts, so adding the burst may change the sound a little bit, and little things here and there, because a guitar is sum of its parts. You change anything, it's going to change the sound a bit. I really dig the sound of this 400 series, but the 412 really has a nice low end to it that you wouldn't think should be in a guitar that size.
So, Gabriel, we got a really good question, a nerdy question about how these were recorded. If you want to talk about that, that would be awesome.
We can. I actually kind of was jumping in answering in the comments, but so was it recorded dry? Yes. There are 3 mics in the room. We have they're Neumann KM84s. One is a close mic, and then we have a spaced pair in the room, which also because the idea of these is to show what they're going to sound like, kind of to the player. That's what I'm trying to achieve when I mix them. So I actually will add a little hint of reverb on a send, and it's really low. Like if you actually saw it in the mix, it's so low. But there's a little bit of a larger reverb, like kind of buried in the mix there. For the room mics though, the close mic is totally dry.
We lost Dylan. Now we got
sorry
him
about
back.
that.
Dylan's back.
Don't push that button. Don't push that button.
I
That
will
button,
not
the
ever
bad,
again. Sorry about
the
that.
bad button. Not that one.
Hey, Tyler did it.
It was red
Tyler
with a
did it
big
a couple
skull
weeks
on it. I
ago.
don't know why I pressed it, but hey.
Oh, I did it too. So I mean, don't
One time we
Hey,
had Tim
everybody gets
Godwin.
one.
One time we had Tim Godwin on the show, and he thought he could do the show without plugging his computer in, and his computer died.
I remember
Oh.
that. And I also remember an early power outage for you, Jay.
Oh, dude!
Oh yeah.
Somebody ran over the internet by me.
So,
Yeah, that was me. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
There's 2 more questions I'm going to address about, because this is interesting and it's nerdy, and we're a Guitar Nerd Talk show. So this is a 2-parter. He says, how does how you've mic'd the guitar affect what we're hearing? So there's a great engineer who records these at Singing Serpent in San Diego.
San Diego.
He's a fantastic engineer, and then the audio and video gets sent over to me to mix and edit. They're all mic'd the exact same way. Mics are really carefully placed. They're measured out. Yeah. So I mean, the miking of the guitars is super accurate. And even if you're watching the video and it might like look a little different, that's just because cameras might have shifted a little bit. You know, they're pretty consistent from video to video, but if the mic looks a little different, it's probably because camera shifted. They're very exact. So, and they're recorded at really standardized input levels. Everything is as close to same as possible, and that's so the audio is as close to hearing the guitar in person as humanly possible. So moving a mic does change a ton when you record, but the goal here is to keep that really consistent. And then for mixing, I use pretty, I have a mix bus that I run everything through. Someday on a super nerd show, I'll walk you through what that looks like. And I do very minor stuff on it. Typically the way guitars work in rooms, I actually sometimes will roll a little low end off, and someday I'll explain to you why. But it's just to clean up the sound so you can hear the guitar better. So my goal is always so you can hear what it would sound like if you were physically holding it and playing it. That's what I want you to get when you watch a video. And then someone else asked, Robert here said, you didn't use the ES2. No, not for recording these. The idea is for you to know what it sounds like when you're physically holding it, playing it in a room, not plugged in.
Yep. All right. Thanks, nerd. I mean, Gabe.
So nerd.
Such a nerd. Let's dive right. Good playing though, Dylan. We like this. All right. So speaking of Dylan playing, I think we should go to the 414, and I'm going to show this good old fashioned feature spec video for this 414 guitar if I can find it. Oh, found it. Here we go. It's a tasty guitar. Let's play the playthrough now. Playthrough.
Dylan bringing the hammer-ons there.
Had to excite it up a
Beedly-boo.
little bit, you know.
Yeah.
When we were in the studio, Jay was like, just play something that you can play really clean and contemplate life at the same time and have a really sullen look on your face, and that's perfect. So I went that route.
Speaking of
like-
perfect, that shirt looked like it was the perfect length.
Might have been the perfect length.
It looks like it was the perfect length.
It was.
It's a running joke. Jay and I buy the same shirts very often.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
yeah.
Kittens and donuts.
Yeah. That was that was good. You also had a fresh haircut. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
like your haircut, your beard, your playing, everything was just suited for that 414 CE.
I like this comment from Phil, who mentions that is kind of a canon. I agree that 414. It's the interesting thing about those two guitars is that from my perspective, I feel like the 412 has a surprising amount of low end for being a smaller guitar. I've always felt like that. And then you hear the 414, it's just like, oh, that's so much bigger. The 412 is still really fun, but that 414 just kicks.
Yeah, it's
Totally
a
agree.
beast. All right, Mike. 10 years in, you've been selling these 400 series guitars. How do you feel about that 414 CE?
So Phil's right. It has a bit more of a Canon-esque kind of sound. Physics is going to tell you that the bigger the guitar gets, the more sound you're going to get out of it. But what it didn't do was get so big in the bass that it blooms. So it doesn't do that, which is great because, again, it's keeping that articulation where you can hear the low end and experience the low end while not going, was that an E or a G? You know? And the other thing that I really think happens is that the low mids are really, really pronounced as we get to larger and larger body shapes in this series. So you definitely hear a lot more of that low mid that may have been missing a little bit from the 412 CE, not a lot, but there's some more in there that helps define the sound even further.
Ooh, we got a good question here. Eric Campbell with a dinger.
This
If
is
we're
kind of my
talking
question,
baseball.
actually, for Mike. I was gonna ask, like, what are some of the main differences between them, and then sonically, I was gonna ask you, do you feel like the footprint of the body is a key factor in that kind of extended low mid and kind of punchy low end that you'll get out of the 414 versus the 412?
Second question first. The answer is yes. The footprint is going to define
Footprint.
a wider EQ in general, because that's what a bigger body is going to do. It's just going to give you more. So anything you go larger, it's going to be bigger and give you more. Now, the other side of that is that it can't just be big. It needs to be built to be big and to be able to be controlled and output in a very regulated way those frequencies. So the 414 and the 412 are definitely different footprints, but they're braced very differently. And another thing that's affecting the sound is the scale length. So the 412 CE is a 24 7/8 inch scale length, whereas the 414 CE is a little bit longer. It's 25.5. So there's more tension on those strings on top of it. So you're able to get a little bit more warmth out of that 412 because of its shape, but also because of the scale length of that instrument. So again, a guitar is the sum of its parts. It's everything is affecting the sound in one way or another, and the architecture, is different between both of them. The sheer physics is going to allow for more of that low end to come through, but then defining how that sounds overall is with the internal architecture.
That's super interesting. What would you say? How does the V class like lend to when you're talking about controlling that sound? Because we all know that rosewood you were talking about it blooming, and
Yeah.
rosewood can
Yeah.
just turn into like this big low end explosion that's just
Yeah.
like, oh, listen to all this mud that I'm giving you right now.
Yep.
So do you find, because I know, you know so much about guitar specs and work with guitars so much with dealers and things, do you find that the V class really allows you to control that?
It does, because of the way it outputs its sonics. It's so uniform in its response
Yeah.
that you are able to control it better, that you can predict it better. in so many ways because it's rocking uniformly back and forth as opposed to hitting those 4 quadrants like an X-Brace top would. Again, not saying X-Brace is bad, just different way of building a guitar. We prefer V-Class because you have that predictive quality of it where you kind of know what it's going to do and how you can adapt V-Class bracing to other shapes, other tone wood pairings. That's the beauty in it.
This is a great comment by Mr. Tobias. I think V-Class bracing brings out the best of the grand concert
100%.
shape. 100%.
100%.
I agree.
It is first and foremost. And then here's another one. I mean, small body guitars, man. Small body guitars can do wonders for you, especially in front of a microphone, in my opinion, right? Like what you can do with that smaller guitar takes less energy to get that thing moving.
Absolutely.
It's going to give you more of a focused tone or sound into that microphone, and voila, it's a trick, right? So sometimes bigger guitars aren't always better.
No, they're not. And the thing is, at the end of the day, what you hear is what matters most, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, if you think that a bigger guitar suits what you do better, great. If you think a smaller guitar suits what you do better, great. There's no wrong answer, right? But there are some ways that you could be steered in a certain direction where a small body guitar lends itself better to finger picking because, Jay, of what you just said, that it comes alive with a lighter touch. There's less surface area to vibrate. So therefore, you don't need to push it as hard. You don't need to claw at it. Therefore, your technique doesn't suffer, and therefore you play it better. Whereas with a larger guitar, you may not get that same experience. Now, V-Class bracing does allow for you to finger pick a larger body guitar, which is nice. You don't have to attack it, but at the same time, you're still going to need to put a little more effort into it for it to reach its maximum potential. So there's, all these things play a big part. Now, what Paul Tobias said is exactly right. I think V-Class bracing really benefited our grand concert guitars the most. Yeah. Because you get that much more out of them. You're getting exponentially more out of them than when we had different architecture inside the guitar. And frankly, a little bit, looking behind the curtain a bit, sales show that because our smaller body guitars have been selling way better since the advent of V-Class bracing. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Dylan, how do you feel about that guitar? I mean, you played it. You had it. You have one right now with you. You played it before the show, probably during the show. You putting yourself on mute over here and just rocking. How do you feel about that 414 CE?
Man, actually, I want to real quick on the 412 CE. I gotta say, there's just something about that shape that I just think it sits in a mix like right off the bat nicely. I find with larger body guitars, you kind of have to EQ it a little bit more, but with the grand concert size, it's literally just like dead on. But I actually opted for the 414 when I was guitar shopping, and I just like the versatility. I just think it's like really dynamic. I've always loved Grand Pacifics as well, but when I was just thinking about, okay, I get one guitar that I'm going to buy, and what is it going to be in the Taylor lineup? The 414 CE was just perfect for me. It just had everything kind of it checked all the boxes. You can strum it, you can play finger style. It does everything really well, like all Taylors do. But I just really like the tone wood combination, the feature package, and everything. It just is a really awesome guitar, and I've always wanted one, and I love it. Sorry, long-winded answer.
No, that's a great answer.
That's a great answer. But I think that we should bring something to the table right here. And Paul Tobias might be saying something so controversial we need to put him in timeout. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Paul. Thanks for the information. That's a great side note.
It's true.
Okay. Ooh, Carl had a compare the 412 to the 812. We may have done that in a YouTube video. It wouldn't be this current 412 though. It would be the 412 as of 2 weeks ago. So that's a really good idea. We should go back and take these new 400s and their shape equivalent in the 800 series and do a little combo or a little showdown with that. That would be super fun. Does the 400 V-Class guitar produce higher volume output other bracing styles?
If you play it harder.
I'll say from a recording standpoint, as somebody who's mixed a ton of V-Class guitars, including the previous gen of 400s and this gen. The biggest, I mean, rosewood is going to rosewood, right? Rosewood has a really specific sonic profile, and rosewood sounds like rosewood. I think that one of the biggest differences I hear with V-Class on rosewood guitars is what Mike was talking about, the shaping the sound and controlling it. If you've ever mic'd a guitar, one of the things that happens is right out of the sound hole, there is Andy talked about this when the
puff of air.
The puff of air when the V-Class and the Grand Pacifics came out. And there's this, it's a puff of air. It makes kind of a womp sound. And it's a pretty gross sound. And if you misplace a microphone or in recording, you almost can't get rid of it. It's pretty gnarly. And so controlling things like that by the way the bracing is voiced is huge. And then the other big factor, I think, for me is that I always talk about in V-Class, but that maybe I hear in rosewood more than maybe any other tone would, is the linear decay of notes, because rosewood has huge overtone potential. And when you really strum on rosewood and you dig into rosewood, you get these big overtones going, and they can go so in and out of tune with each other. And V-Class takes all that and tames it down and brings them into this kind of linear decay. And so there are times when you'll be recording somebody and you get to the end of a song and they hit that big last chord and it's just war, war, war. It just sounds horrible. It's a big gross mess. And V-Class doesn't have that problem. It kind of, it tames all that down. And so it's just a really nice ring linear decay of notes. And so that's a big difference that I always hear with rosewood more than anything else.
We could demonstrate a little of that puff of air for those of you who have never done this. I think we've done it a couple of times on the show, but what Gabriel is talking about is there's a definite puff, like a feeling that comes out. You feel, if you put your hand in front of an exhaust pipe of a motorcycle, you're going to hear it. You're going to feel it padding up against the palm of your hand, right? The same thing happens here. Is the way that we've explained it before is if you put your hand in front of your lips and you say pa, 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 you're going to feel that puff of air hit your hands. If you change that to an M, ma, 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 that puff of air goes away. So try that, and you'll know exactly what this nerd over here named Gabriel is talking about. And you just wanted me to do that again, Gabe. I did that for you.
As often as possible. But yeah, Mike, wouldn't you say that's something that really can stand out in rosewood guitars, maybe more than anything else? And one of the things that I've really noticed with V-Class, that it kind of cleans up, like the things that I love about rosewood, that big low end and the gorgeous highs are still there. But the things that can be challenging about rosewood, it really does help clean some of those up.
It does. A poorly constructed rosewood guitar will dissuade you from ever touching rosewood guitars ever again. And over the years I've played some of those, and when it just sounds loose, and unforgiving, because no matter what you do, it doesn't sound good. There's issues. I don't find it all that often, which is nice. And it's, most of the, reputable guitar makers out there do a decent job with rosewood guitars, but there are exceptions, and I've had experience with some of them, and you can't record with them because you can't remove the frequencies that are coming out of that guitar. That muddiness that is inherent in some of those instruments cannot be cleaned up in post. You can't go back and Pro Tools your way out of that. There's no way to fix that. So if you don't have something good to start with, if you don't have a clarity or an articulation to start with, you can never get it. And that's what some of those guitars wind up being, if they're improperly braced, if they're not constructed right, if somebody used a one-size-fits-all type bracing method across their entire line of guitars, that will happen.
All right. In a second here, we're going to play the Grand Pacific version of this 400 series, and I'm really excited about that. But beforehand, In the coming months, we're going to have a producer on the show. His name is Will Yip. He's a multi-time Grammy-nominated, Grammy-winning producer.
Philly fan.
He's a Philly fan. Yeah, he's from Philly.
Turnover.
There you go. Dylan is a big fan of his. Gabriel and I were at his studio, and the first guitar that we put in his hands while we were there was the 417E. I want to read something that he wrote. The day this guitar came out, of course, he had to make a social post about it because he's great on social media, but because he wanted the world to know. The 417E is unreal. It sounds perfect. It plays quick, full, focused, and fills up a room. One of my most favorite instruments that I've ever played. Very inspiring.
Wow.
All right. Now, this is a guy who has many, many, many guitars. He has many, many, many Taylors. He records on a lot of these things, and this is the one that sticks out. So I'm really excited to play the feature spec video for the 417E Grand Pacific. Oh, playthrough time. Boom. That, my friends, is a cannon. Dylan, it's your turn as the special guest of the show. How do you feel about the 417?
Oh, I love the 417. I that might be my new favorite guitar we make. I love it's just everything I've always wanted in a strummer, you know. And I mean, it's great for fingerstyle as well, but I love strumming that guitar. And I wanted to ask this question to the three of you guys, but and also to the chat here, but me personally, when I heard that playthrough, it sounded like the guitar naturally compresses a little bit more. Like, how do we feel about the different body shapes and how it affects like natural compression? Is there more or less with certain shapes?
There's more with a grand concert.
Interesting. Okay.
Overall, because, you know, when we think about compression, part of compression is not just the amount of output, it's also the EQ. So you're kind of cutting off high and low end, and a smaller body isn't going to give you the width of the EQ that you would imagine. So in a smaller body, you'll get that kind of more of a natural compression. Natural compression is definitely influenced by the tone woods. And mahogany is the best example of that.
Mm-hmm.
That naturally compresses. That really cuts off the low and high end because it's really focused in the mid-range. But body shape, when it comes to a dreadnought, to your point, it's going to get, I don't think it's that it's compressing. I think it's just giving you more of the mid-range while not necessarily taking away from the high and low. And it's just that there's more pronounced mid-range, giving that impression of a compression, if you will. Because there's compression impressions. They were a bad band. But I think that's part of it. I think that's what you're hearing with the 417E is that you're getting more mid-range from the larger body shape, the fact that the waist is pulled out a bit, right? And it's filling in that midpoint a bit more. And I think the elevated mid-range is giving you a sense that the treble and bass are maybe a little bit quashed.
I think you're absolutely right. That was a great answer. Thank you for that. But yeah, that makes sense, right? It's got a broader EQ range, and
Yeah.
so maybe it balances things out a little more naturally. That might trick your friend Dylan into thinking it's compression, but really it's just maybe more balanced EQ.
Yep.
I love that guitar. I think that's that might be my
That is a winner.
runner. That might be my next guitar.
That right there is, I would argue, that is okay. So Gabe's 517 is probably the best 517 ever. Would you say, Gabe?
It's
It's
among
special.
the,
Even
certainly,
Andy,
yeah,
even Andy
it's a
Powers
special,
said that one is special. There's
yeah,
something
it's a
about
special
it
guitar.
that has it. So I've always been a kind of a 517 first kind of guy, and no, that's different. That's different tone wood pairing. That's got a roasted spruce top on it. It says torrefied spruce top on it. Oh, I said the word that we don't ever say. Oh. Anyway, apologies. We're gonna get hate for that from somebody. I don't know who's gonna hate us for that, but it's got a roasted spruce top on it, and it's got mahogany. I do lean 517 over 717. Many people have heard me say on the show, I try and stay away from rosewood most of the time. I'm way more of a drier guitar kind of guy. I like mahogany. I like the woodiness of mahogany. That being said, the 417, and I have in my hand, I have an email exchange that Andy Powers and I were going back and forth. And he kind of, Dylan talks about that. I said, why is it that there's this like push in the mids that kind of warm this guitar up? Because by the way it looks, the first thing some of us nerdy guitar players want to do is A/B the guitar against a Gibson J45. And that is what we did. And we sat in the room, and I want you to, I'm not just saying this because we're Taylor. I'm saying this because we're all guitar lovers here. So we see this 417. The first thing is like, who's got a good J45? We know what that means. When you find a good J45, you buy it because it's a good guitar. If you can find one that's really, really consistent and good, yada, yada. Tim Godwin, our director of artist relations, has a really great J45. So we had him bring it in, and we A/B'd that thing. And everyone in the room, which, by the way, a J45 is a spruce top and mahogany back and sides. There's no, I mean, you shouldn't compare these guitars, really. There's no apples and apples here. All of us went, oh, the 417. Every single one of us pointed at that 417. It's consistent. It's just beautiful. Well, one of the things that Andy says here is the difference. So somebody earlier said we should demo a 770 or face off a 717, which is a torrefied Sitka spruce top.
You mean roasted
Sitka spruce top with a rosewood back and sides under silent satin or satin finish, right? This is the first all gloss Grand Pacific, like I said earlier, with rosewood, East Indian rosewood back and sides, and a non-roasted or non-torrefied Sitka spruce top. It's different. There's something. And so what Andy says is, he goes, that contributes to a really neat growl. Andy Powers with the heat.
Yep.
A growl is a good description of that guitar.
Yeah.
Hi to Nathaniel Murphy. If you're a giant guitar nerd and you don't follow Nathaniel on Instagram, you should, because he's amazing. I wanted to kind of back up and latch onto the tail end of what Mike was saying a little while ago about the size of the guitars and how it affects EQ. If you think about speakers in guitar amps or bass amps, a larger speaker moves more air, and therefore it will move like in a bass amp. If you have a bass amp with tens, even a couple tens, you'll get this tight, punchy low end. Whereas if you have a bass amp with a 15, it's a big fat thing because of the way it moves air. And so the 417, because it's got a larger top, even though a guitar top doesn't actually move up and down like a speaker, but because of the way it's moving and how much larger the area is, it's going to push out low end differently than like a grand concert size or even a grand auditorium size. You'll hear differences, and obviously the bracing is different and all that, but just the size of the thing changes it. It's really interesting how that works. And like Mike said, I love that that description Mike gave about the you hear that kind
Yeah.
of compressed and mid-range push because the size of the grand concert is so different. It's like, man, that's so true. Whereas the 417, it kind of has this, it's a little more thunderous, and it's got like a real growl to it. The other thing I noticed, and maybe it's just me or the way it was being played by not Dylan there,
Ryan Hanser.
and
You play better than me. I'm gonna have to punch him in the face tomorrow.
I like the matchy shirt colors though.
Dude, it's the matching. I was like, but you gotta wear green.
Olive green all day long.
I wore that shirt today.
But I did feel like the top end was really kind of nice and smooth on it. It had almost like a ribbon mic vibe going on just out of the guitar. That was
Good
super
call,
cool.
Gabe. Ribbon mic vibe. It does.
Ribbon mics, if you're not a microphone nerd,
Right.
we'll do a show on those someday. Ribbon mics kind of have a smooth top end roll off. They're not so much high def. They sound a bit older, and that's one of the cool things about that guitar. I think is it sounds a bit. It's like a bit of a throwback, in a way. Like it's pretty neat.
All right, Mike. I'm saving the guy who's been selling this 400 series for last. You've been selling it for 10 years now.
Yes.
How do you feel about the 417E, my friend?
So when, the way things work at Taylor in the sales department is we get a sales sheet, right? And it's got all, in this case, 3 models, and we get to talk to our dealers about it, and we get to put a synopsis together and send it out to them and say, you need to have these in your store because of X, Y, and Z, right? So when I'm talking to the dealer, I never thought of my job as sexy until just then. But when I'm talking to the dealers, I always like to have firsthand. And I get lucky because we have something on the back end at Taylor Guitars called TGU Online, and that's sort of an instructional thing for salespeople that are learning about our guitars. And I'm lucky enough to be chosen to do a lot of the videos. I write the scripts, therefore I get to play the guitars, so I can write the script about the guitars. When I played the 417E, I said, this is the best guitar we've made, like new guitar that we've made in a while. And that's not taking away anything from the other new guitars we've made over the past few years. The 417E is just that good.
It is just
really,
that good.
Really, really that good. I am not a Dreadnought guy. I'm just not. If you told me to pick out my favorite guitar, 614 CE has always been, and the Billard's Edition 614 CE. Love those guitars. I love Maple. I love our 618E. I love our Grand Orchestras. This guitar, I would play this guitar every day of the week and twice on Sunday. It is that good that it deserves a place in every store and in every customer's collection. Like Gabriel's got his collection back there. He needs to make a little more room.
Gabriel's tired of your comment right now.
Yeah, well, because he knows that his wife is going to say, no, you can't buy another guitar. But he needs to make a little more room on that side with all those cases and put a 417 in there because it deserves to be part of that collection. It really, really does. It's that good.
And this is why. I had to do it again because it's that good. Good. It is that good.
Now, can you imagine, all right, Nathaniel Murphy playing that guitar?
Right.
Well, I can imagine it, and I can't wait until he plays it. They're gonna head on over to Chicago Music Exchange YouTube. You're gonna see this dude doing a demo of that guitar real quick.
I can't watch his videos because it makes me just want to never play again. So kudos to you, Nathaniel.
I was just in Chicago a couple of weeks ago on this last little trip that we did. We were in Chicago for less than 12 hours. It was hilarious. And we filmed with Nathaniel. And Nathaniel's so great. Nathaniel, I hope you're still here talking about this, but it was great. So we had him do a little American Dream demo on an AD-17 with a burst on it, the new sunburst one. And he wanted to do, he's so good of just acoustic renditions. Like Nathaniel Murphy acoustic renditions of songs are just not like anyone else, right? Weird. He's like, I want to do this weird open tuning. And he says, do you think I could he goes, I need to tune the B string down to an F sharp, which means the string would just like fall off, right?
It's like a noodle.
Right, just a wet noodle, burnt, and just fall off. So he had this idea, and he was like, do you think I could put a G string on there? So it was basically two G's, but he just tuned it down to F sharp, and it was just gnarly. And I cannot wait. I'm not going to give away what song he did, but it was, my goodness. Like, first of all, it's Nathaniel Murphy. Second of all, you're sitting there and you're kind of like, he gets done and he's like, was that all right? And I'm like, was that all right? That was like the greatest guitar playing I've ever heard in my life. Like, now, what are we going to do when he puts a 417 in his hand? Woo!
What's
I
funny
think
is
he'll actually invent a note.
Yeah, I know. Like, his playing is just.
that's what Nathaniel says every time. Like, he's done playing. I remember the very first time I was there when Jay met Nathaniel.
Paul Tobias brought him down to Summer NAMM.
Yeah, Paul Tobias brought him to Summer NAMM, and we were filming at Southern Ground Nashville. I was filming some. It's like the first project I ever worked on with Taylor. Actually, I was filming some behind the scenes stuff, and Nathaniel was up there just absolutely ripping. And Jay turns around and looks at me, and he's like, "What?" Like couldn't believe it. And Nathaniel's like, "Is that okay?"
I know.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Like,
Yeah,
Nathaniel, we're gonna
My
have you back
mind
on
is
the show,
blown.
man. You're a beast.
Nathaniel's
You are a
gonna
beast.
popularize the wound B string now.
E. Look at this. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Soundgarden did that.
I'm also pretty sure that Nathaniel could figure something out with that too.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. Got a couple of here's a good statement. How does anybody feel about that? You don't see a ton of vintage Taylors.
I have one.
Will you bring it out?
Yeah, don't mind my sweatpants. I'm in dad mode.
He's wearing sweatpants.
Yeah, I am.
Sweatpants.
That's all right. I'm wearing sweat shorts. So, because I'm in
Wow.
Southern California.
Dylan and I just dressed normal.
Yeah, and suit pants, slacks.
Yeah, slacks, and
Any loafers?
Ferragamo shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
100%. All right.
Oh, now he needs a stand.
Yeah. What do you got here?
Jeez. He's even got to accessorize when we're trying to play
I
on
was-
his guitar.
I was putting the kids to bed before this. So this is I was just telling Bob Taylor about this guitar the other day. Vintage 510 from 1979. Look at the super hand carved headstock there. There's a ton of cool like finish checking. I don't know if you can see it very well, but amazing guitar.
Play it.
Literally one of my favorite. Oh, it's going to be so zoomy though. I don't even know if it's in tune. I just restrung it. Hang on. It's going to be so zoomy.
Well, zoom a little. Zoom out. And Gabe,
The
don't
let's
want to
see
see
how-
Gabe in
let's see how-
leggings.
how
Hold on.
bad the
Look at this.
let's see how bad the zoom is.
It wasn't that bad, but stop there.
Yeah.
That sounded great to
super
me.
good.
Oh, that sounded good, man. That is a good guitar.
It's a great guitar. They're
Can
all
you-
great guitars.
Can you play Feeding the Ducks on that guitar?
I gotta
Actually-
learn it.
Going back to that question though, do we think it's just because production now at Taylor is so much more than it was in the 70s, as well as I mean, and also the models have changed so much. I mean, the models we have now, I think, are the best we've ever had as well. So I wonder if it's just like a mix of production and demand on new models.
It's a mix of everything. It's a mix of demand for new models and different architecture that we're using in the guitars today. But also, you got to think about what we were doing, 45 years ago. We're not making guitars on a hundreds a year level anymore. It's, hundreds of thousands a year level is where we're at now. So sheer numbers of available guitars, X amount of years old from Taylor, That's why, and we only have 48 years of existence right now, almost it'll be 49 later this year. So, whereas, Martin and Gibson and other companies, they have, like centuries of history where you have vintage guitars from certain time frames. So all that plays a part in it. Now, are there collectible Taylors? There are collectible Taylors. They may not be considered vintage, but they are collectible. So
A collectible Taylor that you should buy right now is a brand new 417E. This guitar is going to change guitars forever. It has. It's so good.
so good.
I kind of want to just play it for the rest of the show, but we probably should move on of some sort. Hey, we'll take some questions now. First things first, I have a comment. We should have Dylan come back. He's been fantastic.
Yeah.
You're allowed.
You guys are making me blush. I would love to come back. This has been so much fun. I mean, talking guitars, like what else could you want to do? This is great.
I know, right? It is the coolest, nerdiest thing in the world. My mom's watching. Most of the time she says, I don't even know what you guys are talking about, but it's really fun. She got to come in this room. I showed her where we did this whole thing. She got a little tour. She hung out with Bob for a minute, saw Andy. She's a champion over here. Anyway, does anybody have any questions? We do have a little Evans question tonight. We do have some trivia.
Do you have questions about the new 400s?
Yes.
Somebody mentioned earlier that it would be, because we were nerding out about microphones and I was talking about ribbon mics, and then it would be great to do a show about microphones.
We did one with
Bandrew.
Yeah, we should have Bandrew come back on and nerd out with us about microphones. That would be fun.
I would love to nerd out with Bandrew about microphones.
That would be fun to have nerd time with him. We should have him come on. It also, we'll have Will come on and talk about miking things. And,
oh man, yeah.
And his use of guitars and acoustic guitars on heavy electric guitar rock records. He likes to double guitars a lot with acoustics, so it gives this like the tonality that you can't get just with a straight electric. It's some of the stuff he does is really fantastic. It's super nerdy.
We have a few questions rolling in. Here's a good first one. Oh, you already got one.
I got one. When will the 417E hit stores, Mike?
They're there.
They're there.
Everything launched last week and launched last Wednesday. So tomorrow will be 1 week. And if your local store doesn't have it, be like, yo, I heard this 417E. You kind of need to get this because it's that good.
Here's a good question we gotta answer. Lindsay will join us when she can. We have a handful of side projects going on here at Taylor, and Lindsay is busy working through some of those. So she spoke to me earlier and said she misses the show, but what or where is
that was
Lindsay?
got what or where is well, we know what Lindsay is.
When is Lindsay?
She is an awesome person that is missed here on Primetime. I don't know if we need to define what Lindsay is, but I found that really funny.
What's the case called again?
The Western
it's a Western floral.
Western floral case. It comes with that really cool floral case.
It's like an embossed leather or something. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I have one back there, but I'm not getting up again.
Well, you need a stand for it as well. I mean, come on, you had to accessorize and everything.
I just don't want to have the pants conversation again. No. Somebody asked earlier, where did it go? Here we go. Is there a 12 string? Not right now, right?
Not right now.
Nope.
Not right now. But that doesn't mean that's forever.
You never know.
Yeah.
And speaking of baritones, Evan, we've seen a couple of baritones in the 400 series as limiteds before, so I wonder if that'll happen, Mike.
You know what?
Oh,
I
I
would
hope.
love it to, and I certainly hope it does.
Michael Venezia doing his job.
And what happened?
There's
Right
one
there.
at Russo Music in Asbury Park right now.
Well, there you go.
Tight.
Yeah, one of the
There you go.
417Es, right? Mhm.
That is
Oh,
one of Mike's
417Es,
dealers.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's there. That is one of my dealers. What's up to the Russo Music crew?
I was recently at a Russo location, the new one in Philly, and it was
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
That's a really cool store.
It's a great little
what a
mini chain
vibe.
of stores. Absolutely.
Yeah. That was a neat store.
Bob
Oh.
Rotundo has an interesting question.
Where'd it go?
Second, it's second from the bottom. Now it's third.
Oh,
Yep, that was the one.
yeah.
A new
Gabe.
400 nylons coming.
I don't know. That's a good question.
No.
I would love to see it though, man.
Yeah, I mean,
412 CE nylon.
well, we were making them up until, but I also haven't seen whether or not that's still a thing. But let me check. I can get. Let's see.
Hey,
it is
Mike.
not a thing. It is.
I
not
got
a
a
thing
question.
Right now.
I got a question for you, Mike. You're
Yeah.
on the sales squad. If somebody wanted a 400 series, new 400 series without the burst on it, could they get one?
Yeah.
They can. Is it like a modified model or they got to order it?
Yes. Yeah,
Got it.
it would have to be ordered. We haven't made anything. I don't even know if we have a stock code, but we have been informed that that is a possibility. I don't think there's a difference in price.
Okay.
But I do believe it is a possibility. So
Oh, here's a good question. Andy Lund is not
What
in the
is
North.
Andy Lund?
What is Andy Lund?
what?
Andy
what
Lund-
or where?
What or when is Andy Lund?
When is Andy Lund? Yeah. Why is Andy Lund?
Andy Lund is not in the Northwoods. He's actually in San Diego on campus right now, but he's in a meeting. He's in a very important meeting that he could not make the show.
Yep.
We miss him. We also miss Lindsay Tex. We do. I get to see her more than everyone else probably, so I don't miss her as much. In fact, we were in a meeting earlier, and the meeting gave us so much anxiety that I called her afterwards and I said, "Yo, that meeting gave me anxiety." And we had a good laugh about it, but it was joking anxiety. Okay. Any other questions here, Gabe?
Is there going to be Grand Symphony with Soundport Cutaway in the 400 series?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Don't know. Don't know. Don't know. But in the meantime, grab a Builder's Edition 816 CE.
It's a good guitar, man. Wow.
Yeah.
It is a good guitar. We should do a whole Soundport Cutaway thing again. We did an episode, I think, a long time ago.
It has been, when I visit stores and I do events, it is singularly, those guitars are the ones that are played most because it's such a curiosity because people don't know exactly what it is or why it's there. And then after they play it, they go, "Oh, I get it now. Okay, you're right. It does this, this, and this."
Right.
Okay.
That's the same reaction we all had.
Yeah.
When Andy first showed it to us, we all were like, "Get out of town." And then he played it and it was like, "Get out of town."
We have a great question here from our old friend Zebo, who we haven't seen in the comments recently.
Why isn't every model in every series like the old days? I had a new guitar player come to me for advice and he was paralyzed by all the options.
I kind of get that sometimes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different flavors. Which one's the right one for you?
Yeah, I if we had every model in every series and that would, you think it's paralyzing now?
Yeah. That'd be like 3 times the guitars, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it
exactly.
would be astronomical amount of skews.
Yeah.
Like,
I think we could probably clarify just a little bit too. I think that Andy is leading us into a place where sometimes he doesn't necessarily think things belong in certain areas because we look at these series and we go, okay, we could have them all as stock codes or SKUs, we'll call it, right? We could have the ability to, but it's, for example, I work with a lot of artists and I'm just going to be blunt. A majority of the artists that we work with do not like cutaway guitars. It is just a thing, right? So the first question we get, for example, with a 412 CE is, can I get a non-cutaway version? Yes, we can make a stock code for a non-cutaway version, but that's not necessarily going to be represented on our website right out of the gate. And I think that it's we hear you loud and clear, but I think that when there are guitars, we already are confused. And I mean, Mike's been here for 10 years. I've been here for going on 8, 7, 8, 7, 8. I don't know when I started working here a while ago. So Dylan's been here for a while. Gabe, you were selling these guitars for how many years? 20?
Like 17-ish. I was
Yeah.
a dealer for.
Yeah, so I think that Andy and the product development team are really doing a good job of going, okay, what works where and why, and we make decisions off of that. It doesn't mean that we won't have, a stock code, or we can't make something, or if you go to your dealer and say, man, I really like this guitar, what do you think about that? They can reach out to Mike. For example, his dealers can reach out to him and say, "Hey, can we get this guitar made for somebody?" And a majority of the time, it's a close enough version of what they're trying to get. Would I be right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, there are certain things that just don't exist. Like right now, we just don't have a Grand Symphony maple guitar.
Right.
We just don't. And if somebody wanted one, as much as I would love to make one for somebody, we actually don't have internal architecture for that. There's no design for it, so therefore it doesn't exist. But that's right now. And the thing is, with the way everything turns and the way flavors change and the way that woods change, and who knows, maybe down the road there's a 616 CE with a sound port cutaway because Andy found a way to brace it that gives him this, that, and the other thing that he's always wanted in a maple guitar of that size. So nothing is a no forever for the most part. Certain things just don't exist right now. Certain things, ask. Absolutely ask. If you want a guitar, like Jay was saying, a lot of pros just don't like cutaways. Cool. If you want a non-cutaway, non-electronic 412, we can make it.
Yep.
That's not a problem. And if you want that same 412 lefty strung righty with no cutaway, no electronics, we'll probably do it. Would I encourage it? Only if you're a lefty that plays righty guitars like that. So
here's a good topic to talk about. Actually, that I want to hit this nail on the head real quick. My concern with Taylor guitars is lack of consistency. So I might have a clarifying question, meaning they're not consistently built? ? I said that as if I was doing voice to text.
Yeah.
And then the other one is models change too often. So
I think what he's saying is that the lack of consistency of models is probably what he's saying here.
So
that the models change.
Why would things change? Maybe Mike, and then Gabe, from an outsider's perspective, I'd love to hear your perspective here. But Mike, why would models change?
Models change because if you look at any major guitar company, they change things. Sometimes they're big changes, sometimes they're small. In the case of the 400 series, overall, it's a small change, right? Because they got predominantly an aesthetic upgrade, all right? And we added a shape.
There you go.
So we didn't change anything structurally. Like I said at the top of the 412 and the 414 CE, we gave it a different cosmetic look, but then we added a shape to it. So that's not necessarily a big change. A big change was when we went to V-class bracing.
Right.
That was a big change. But even before that, first, we wanted to introduce that in our Builder's Edition, the K14 CE. That's how it started, top down. But if you go back to when we redid our 800 series, that was a big change.
Yeah.
But that aesthetically has not changed since. The internals have changed, but the way the guitar looks predominantly has stayed the same. I understand that things change, but if you want to look at change, look at an electric guitar company that gives you the same guitar but a different color. And that happens every year. Every year, a lot of those companies change up their color palette and they'll add something else to it, what have you. We at least have, when we have a change, it's not just because we're bored. It's because we think we can make it better.
Yeah. And somebody said something up here earlier, be it joking. Seems like Andy has a vision for the future, or for a future with rhyme and reason each series. Nobody else sees it yet. I think we all do see it, actually. And every time Andy makes a change or an introduction to a wood, a tone wood, say like urban ironbark, those urban ironbark guitars are fire. They are
Yep.
so
They're great.
darn good. And it's hard for us. We're the brand. You can come here and listen to us jibber jabber. It talk, for an hour and 25 minutes and 9 seconds for way too long about what we think. Really, at the end of the day, what we're trying to say is just go to the store. Just go try it. Go try it. Go try it. Try it out. Listen to what we're trying to say. A video can't do any justice. It can do it some justice. You heard those guitars. They sounded good. But Dylan, man, explain. You grab a 417 for the first time and what? Were you excited? Or were you like, man, I wish I was listening to a video?
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're recording something, you're not listening to the raw instrument, right? You're listening to like the microphones capturing that signal that then get converted into a digital signal that then are feeding through earbuds into your ears. Versus when you actually play a guitar and it's on your lap, I mean, it's such a sensory experience, right? You feel the vibrations of the back and side woods, the acoustics and the way it's not only going directly to yours, but off the walls and in the room. You're really hearing the room, right? I mean, it's just such a different experience, and also just the feel, right? Like how the neck feels. I personally think Taylor necks are the best in the game, and talk about consistency. I mean, every time I pick up a Taylor, the necks feel amazing. So easy to play. I suck at bar chords until I pick up a Taylor and I can finally play them. Yeah, Phil nailed it. But I just think it really is a totally different experience. And going back to Zebo's question earlier, like if you're really helping someone trying to kind of find, the best Taylor that fits them, I try to break it up, like start with the body shape, whatever, think about the shapes and the EQs that we were just talking about earlier, like the really the frequency spread, and then kind of go through the series to look at your tone wood pairings. And then of course, budget obviously will come into play, but I think separating those things really helps kind of the shopping journey out a lot. Or just, to your point, Jay, I think just going into a store, picking up 10 Taylors and trying them out, you will hear a difference, and every one of them sounds different, and I think a lot of the questions around like, why are we always changing the series and the models? I think it's because we're after certain sounds, there's certain things that Andy, produces that just sound great. And I think certain series with different, he likes to experiment with the pairings and the shapes and there's always kind of a new world to play in. So I just think it's really important to get them in your hands and try them out, especially if you're buying, an instrument. It's always nice to kind of try before you buy and just make sure it's going to be what you're looking for.
And that, my friends, is the retail marketing manager at TaylorGuitars.com. All right, let's move on real quick. So just one last question.
I want to add on to that if I can.
Oh,
sorry, you were going to get to me earlier, and then you just passed me by.
Sorry,
I
took
did
all the air
pass
in the
you
room.
by,
Passed me by.
I passed you by because we're at 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 14 seconds.
I'll be fast.
Okay.
So the thing I was going to say earlier was simply that as Andy's been going through the line since the switch over to V class, he's been, what's going to happen, and I have to monitor the comments. So he's been going through and voicing things really specifically within the line and changing the voices of shapes and tone woods. And I think, when you talk about consistency, like changing the 724s to Koa. Well, we have rosewood in the 400s, so why do we need it in the 700s anymore? Those things were probably kind of rubbing up against each other, being very close in sound. So I think there's a good variety in there, but I also think there's a lot of value in having some other options. The other thing I'll say is, when you get into when you talk about why everything isn't in every line, like, I'm not a dealer anymore. I was for a long time. And there are certain things that you just kind of have to have in most series, like a grand auditorium. That you kind of always want a grand auditorium around, right? But you're not necessarily going to sell, a GP body the same in every series, or or a GC body in the same in every series. So I think what Andy has done along with the sales teams and everybody else has done a really good job at, is kind of pruning the line a little bit. So there isn't so much like option overkill with tone woods. There you're kind of getting steered a little bit to what he feels like those woods do really well. Is that fair to say, Mike? Does that make sense?
No. Oh wait, no, that's not the right answer. Yeah, it makes total sense. I mean, there's things that happen in businesses where you kind of need to look at what are your offerings and does everything make sense where it's at. The 700 series, that's the best example that you could possibly give, because we had rosewood in the 4, 7, 8, 9 series, but we had like 2 offerings that were koa, and we tout koa all the time. So it's like, you got to have a balance, and that's why things do change sometimes, but I always believe it's for the better. It's never, we're never going to go and change something that we feel, wow, that's selling like crazy. Let's just not do that anymore. We feel like if there's a change to be made and it's going to be positive for everyone, that's what we do. And Paul Tobias is exactly right. It can sometimes get a little confusing, but I just saw Ken Rogers, the right below. He says he has a good idea of what he likes and what he can handle and what works for him. And not everything is, but that's okay, because it will work for somebody else. And that is exactly the point. We talk about this all the time on the show. I could take that 417E and the 4 of us could play it, and we all love that guitar equally, probably, and we'll all make that same exact guitar sound different.
John, this is great.
Yeah.
This is so good.
I've been there.
What's
It's
Andy's
a problem.
quote? Andy has a quote about that, right? Like, what's the right guitar? Jay, I think you told me that once. I think it's like whatever gets you playing. Almost, just whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you like. There is no wrong answer, right? I mean, we've seen countless times, Grammy award winning. Like, I think back to Tom Morello sometimes, because like he won a Grammy with a Squire. Like you don't need. It's not just about like, it's just whatever works for you. There's no wrong answer. You can really pick up a guitar, and if whatever guitar you have is the right guitar, because that's the guitar you can play.
I mean, Andy Grammer used to play really high-end Taylors, and he has gravitated to the AD-17 Blacktop, and he has one of them, and he's playing the literal crap out of it to the point where he's beating the finish right off of it. He hits it so hard when he strums, and that's his number one, and that is the guitar that makes him happy.
Yeah.
So, Jason Mraz has signature model guitar here with Taylor, but he plays his original one that's just beat to crap, and he brings it in and we set it up from time to time, or like there's good old Smokey Joe. Ooh, that's somebody we should have on the show.
Steve Poltz would be fantastic.
Oh my goodness, we're gonna invite Steve Poltz to this show. Oh, note to self. Okay, I think it is time to have a little Evans question. No, 2 minutes of sports. That's what we got. We got 2 minutes of sports.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me get to this useless clip. 2 minutes of sports. Where'd it go? Gabriel, we need new useless clips.
Was that actual footage of Virginia losing to Fairleigh Dickinson University?
Oh, the press conference after that game.
This, man.
The press conferences after that game was so good too.
So the best,
they scored more points, and then like somebody, I love that the reporter asks about rebounds, and he goes, "That's when somebody shoots the ball and you grab it." And I was like, "Wow,
savage
that's
response
an answer."
to that reporter.
Dude, I mean, it is just this NCAA tournament is just fire. I don't know if you guys are fans of it. I'm obviously a big fan. I'm wearing my Michigan State Spartans hat. We made it to the Sweet 16. I got to watch the games with my mother. That was fantastic. And next weekend's going to be fire. Who's your team, Gabe? Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah. In basketball, Tar Heels, but it would be hard for me.
Right. They didn't make the tournament. Did I say that out loud?
It would be hard for me to as long as it's not Duke, I'm fine.
They made the tournament though.
Yeah, as long as Duke doesn't win, I'm fine. It would be hard for me to care less about basketball in general. Like
Oh, you're not a basketball fan.
Not a huge basketball fan. No, not
Aren't
Dylan
the
and I
Aztecs
are.
still in it too?
Who?
Isn't SDSU still
Yeah,
in it?
they made
Yeah,
it to
they're
the Sweet
doing great.
16.
Sweet
Go
16, man.
Aztecs.
It's amazing. No, I love basketball. I admit I'm not as fluent in college basketball, but I do like watching it when I get a chance. But NBA is the best. I love pro basketball.
Yeah, basketball is so great. Mike, are you into basketball at all?
I used to be, well, I watch ESPN like when I'm home. So I
Yeah.
know enough about basketball to be dangerous, but I'm not a fan of the NBA. I enjoy March Madness and I enjoy seeing certain things happen, like, and certain things made me sad. Like I was a Knick fan for many, many years when I lived in New York. Patrick Ewing just got fired out of Georgetown, but he wasn't doing well as coach there, so he's gone.
Right.
But Rick Pitino is now the coach of St. John's University again. So he went from Providence, and then then he had a whole bunch of trouble in Louisville, and then he was at Iona, and now he's at St. John's. And I used to follow the Red Men, now the Red Storm, when I was in high school.
Did this happen like today?
Yesterday, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know.
So
about any of
Iona
that either.
loses and he just jumped ship.
Iona lost it. He was just like, I'm going to St. John's.
That's like the best Rick Pitino ever. I hope
Yeah.
he doesn't take money from Adidas again and get fired.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was then not so good.
I've been more interested hearing about. There's someone I know who's like super into sports betting on these things, and I've been more interested in hearing about how the sports betting is going than I have in the actual games.
You want to hear people that fight over things more so than those that fight about what guitar is best. Talk to people that do sports betting online and forget it. You're in a different world. It is intense because, well, there's money on the line.
Yeah,
UFC's
there's money
money
on the
sucked
line
in
for
with
sure.
betting. I've been
All
betting on UFC fights, and it's addicting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do the betting.
Me
I
neither.
don't do
Me
the
either.
betting.
Gotta stay
All
away from
right.
that.
Now we got Evan's question. You guys know how
Yes.
this works. If
I
you-
apologize for last time, by the way, for blowing it up, but I was right.
Some people still think you were wrong, which is so like, okay. Well,
I was
anyway.
right.
Well, somebody
we'll get there.
recently, I just saw in this plot thickens because I just saw in a BST group somebody posted. I'm gonna find the link to this right now. Somebody posted a guitar, a limited 500 for sale in a BST group, and they linked to the Wood and Steel article from when that guitar came out.
Yep. And that was 2013.
But the question was series. The question was what series, not what single
I liked-
limited
I love
guitar.
how
But
Mike,
there were
like-
two guitars. There was a
Mike
514E and
trolled
a
the show.
516E, and I trolled our own show. Yes, I did.
So good.
Yeah. Anyway, Evan still look. Wood and Steel would say otherwise. He
Evan,
sent
Evan,
a dissertation
Evan.
of okay.
Yeah, he did it, and it was impressive. But Evan, come on, man, you could be wrong.
Oh,
okay.
I'd rather be right than I'd rather be the light than right. Is that what they say? Okay.
I love it.
So we got a good question here, and I hope everybody gets it wrong. I mean, right. Mike, don't blow it up this time. I got clarification from 75 people.
It is 1974. That is the right answer this time.
All right. So here's how it works. If you get it right in the feed, if you are the first to answer it right, shoot us an email at primetime@taylorguitars.com, and we will at least order your prize. But if something is missing, it might get held in shipping for a little bit, but we'll eventually get your prize. And the question is, can I get a drum roll? Two-parter. What year did the 400 series first launch, and what was the first model?
Great question.
I know.
I think I have the answer to the second part. The first part, I don't.
Eucalyptus.
That is not the answer to the first part.
No way.
Really?
Really?
Already?
That was very fast.
Wow.
Somebody's really like
Good.
Yeah. Didn't he win?
Maybe
last time?
they figured it out that we were doing a 400 series thing. So they're like,
Maybe.
ooh, I'm
Yeah.
going to figure out what
somebody
this is.
somebody did something.
I bet
Okay,
someone put it in
fine.
ChatGPT and just got the answer real quick.
Oh, that might be it.
That is
Stan,
fantastic.
Stan, are you using Chat GPT to win?
Dan, you
Dan,
won again.
Is Google and or Chat GPT part of this? No, you said yes, I did.
That's sick.
Oh, we're gonna have to make a
love it.
rule here.
Oh, new rule incoming.
New rule.
Hey, who's going to win the Super Bowl next week? Chat GPT. If you can
All
come on
right.
and tell us that answer, we're going Vegas.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank
Oh, he said no, he
goodness.
didn't. He earned it. Stan earned it.
Stan earned it. No, that's so
He
good.
swears. You know he's telling the truth now.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's Chat GPT like speaking for Stan now.
I was gonna
Oh.
say Stan probably is
The entire chat is just bots
Stan
from
is
ChatGPT.
Chat.
Stan is AI.
Stan invented it.
Stan is wonderful. All right, man. Shoot us. You know the deal. We'll come, man. You got a big prize come to you, and just have to deliver a box. Just hand it to you. Anyway, all right, guys. Thank you so much. We will see you next week. Dylan, you're fantastic, man. You should come on to this show more often. Maybe we should just do this 4-piece for a while, for once in a while. I mean, this is fantastic.
I'm game.
I
love
like
to be
everyone
on.
else, but he just brought that. It was like you had this this retail audience avatar thing going on, where it was like you're just new enough at Taylor where you're still asking questions, and you're asking really good questions to these veterans down here. Gabriel's way more of a veteran than I am. He doesn't even work here, but you guys know the deal.
I don't work anywhere.
You don't. You don't have a job. Actually, it's weird. Everyone in the feed, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. You know how it is. We love you so much. We appreciate you. We do this because of you guys. We are inspired by you, and thank you again for showing up every single week. Mike, it's so fantastic to see you and Roger.
You know, I must say I'm grateful that the show is 45 minutes shorter than the last one.
That's true. We could have killed the show at like an hour or two. We could have just done it, but we just kept going all night long. Anyway,
The ES2 show is going to be the record for a while.
The
Yeah,
ES2. Well,
show.
no, it wasn't even the ES2. It was the one with Rich, like going into like how to dial it in even further.
Oh, was that even longer?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was
I
like
there for that too.
7 years long. All right. All right. His job is dad. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Aw.
All right, everybody, we're going to hang up. We'll see you next time. What was it? It was prime time.
It was.
See you, nerd.